Happy Monday. It's Kurt here with Manana No Mas. And I just finished up this giant, the handyman mug of coffee here. But there's a couple of things on my mind today, and I wanted to come on out and kind of share with you what kind of what's on the brain, So, um, as you may know, there's multiple verticals in the Manana No Mas business. And so we have our public speaking, we have our corporate training, and then we also have our full digital agency that we support. And it's interesting because that in and of itself can be distracting, right? Because you've got these multiple verticals, you're spinning these plates, and you're hoping that you're spinning the plates well. And so, for instance, typically Tuesdays I have power sports training, but this week it's going to be on Wednesday. Um, and so that a little bit of a juggle, right? And it's just a little thing. It's like, yeah, hey, you're not going to do this tomorrow. You're going to do it on Wednesday, and it's going to be in the afternoon instead of in the morning. And having to adjust to those things for some people can cause chaos. And so now think about just recent news, right? And I'm not going to go into the details here because you know what? There's other channels that go into the details. If you want to go into details, click the back button, go pick something else off the menu and go there. But we've got a shooting in Michigan, driving a car into a church, boom, right? We've got that. People are still talking about Charlie Kirk. What's that, 2-3 weeks? People are still talking about that. And in the midst of these things, girl on the subway, politician and her husband getting shot. There's all this stuff going on, right? ICE raids, ICE protests. When we think about all this stuff, it is chaotic. It's chaotic. But if you're following me on this channel, you know that we're talking about business, right? But we're talking about business and software and technology and these kinds of things. And folks, the temptation is, especially if you're working online, like I'm online most of the day. So my news feed can fill up with some junk, and I have to work on not getting sucked in. I got to focus on staying focused. And so I want to encourage you to do the same. If we're not careful, we can get sucked into this thing, and then mentally and emotionally we fall into a stream of chaos. And what we need is control. I came across this thumbnail that I put on this video, From Chaos to Control. And what's funny is it's actually the name of a talk that I give in the power sports and marine industries. And so when I'm talking to a motorcycle dealership or a boat dealership, and we're talking about how a service department runs, a service department is a lot like running a business in today's world, right? There's all these things, there's all these distractions going on. And for me, when I'm teaching my people, I'm like, hey, if you're running your service department, you got phones ringing off the hook, you got the sales department that wants some units prepped, you've got, warranty considerations, OEM representatives that want to come in and talk about the things that you're fixing. You've got parts that are on back order. You've got a parts manager that's telling you that we're overstocked on certain items. Like, there's all of these things going on, not to mention the internal culture where the lead technician is fighting with the service writer, and the service writer is arguing with customers, and a salesman is hanging out in the service department smoking cigarettes. It's like just mayhem. It's chaos. And so part of the training that we give from Manana No Mas is, hey, like people that go to the Power Sport Academy. Power Sport Academy is part of Manana No Mas. And so people go to the Power Sport Academy and they get training on this. And it's how to time block the day and fall into a series of processes that allow you to bypass the chaos and gain control, right? And so we have this whole talk, From Chaos to Control. We have a whole course that teaches people about these things. And, here's a sidebar. You can't really go into a business and just wave a magic wand and say, here are the processes. Let's get control of this thing. If it's a business with people in it, you have to have the communication and the internal culture in place in order for these new processes to take root and to lend the control that is possible. And so we start our training with communication, right? how to overcome conflicts and all these things, right? So we start with leadership, communication, and then we start to pepper in some processes that bring us to control. Now, personally speaking, I'm just going to share with you a couple of things. Today's my day. I kept my schedule kind of light today. I knew I wanted to start the week fairly light there because I wanted to grab control of our outgoing messages with Mañana No Mas. I wanted to grab control of what the rest of the week was going to look like. And to be quite honest with you, like my LinkedIn's gotten out of control. I got to clean that up. My Facebook's a little out of control. I got to clean that up because I take care of the messaging that comes in on those channels. And so I've fallen a little bit behind. And so today I've kind of scheduled it so that I have that as a makeup day, right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to be like, all right, let's get a hold of this LinkedIn stuff. Let's get a hold of this Facebook stuff. Let's get rid of the spam. Let's focus on the people that need real responses. And then let's convert those into meetings, right? So let's convert those into meetings, convert prospects into leads, and then let's build that top of funnel area, right? And convert that top of funnel area into the bottom of funnel area. That's the goal. In just the last 2 weeks, we've closed 3 new local clients for Mañana No Mas. So we are very much focused in on the ball. We are making that kind of thing happen. But let me tell you something else that helps me gain focus. And this is going to sound completely out of left or right field, right? Depending on which way the camera's facing. There are certain things I enjoy. I enjoy bicycling. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy writing. And so these things help settle me down. The writing, to be honest, has been a little bit harder for me lately because there's so much going on and with the work and the expansion and all the stuff we're doing with our company, having moved into this house, ever since we kind of moved from California to Kansas, to be honest, there's been priorities and those priorities have overstepped a little bit of the writing. But here's where I can put myself at ease. I will have 400 miles bicycled this month. Hopefully. I did work on my bike and kind of break it last week. So I'm using a backup bicycle right now. But my goal was to have 400 miles ridden this week to raise money for children's cancer for the Great Cycle Challenge. The great news is that we raised the money. So we made the money, but now I gotta make sure the miles happen. I got 45 miles to go in the next 2 or 3 days. So I'm pretty sure I can knock that out and get that done. When I do that, when I bicycle a lot, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, when I bicycle a lot, when I expel the physical energy, mentally I fall in alignment and I'm able to be more productive and focused. True story. The other thing I like to do is cook. I got up this morning. My wife was getting ready for work. My son was getting ready for school. I got up. I made this here bucket of coffee. And as I was sipping on that bucket of coffee, I fired up the grill. I got a pork roast out there right now on the smoker. I put it out there, about an hour and 15 minutes ago. And so I just keep peppering in a little bit of applewood, keep that smoke rolling, and things are really, really good, right? And so we got that. That's getting hammered. That cooking, me paying attention to the cooking and turning things over and focusing on something I really enjoy doing, to be honest with you, that is going to give me more of a mental center so that I can be productive when I sit in front of the computer and do things like this with you. So from chaos to control. I think that's really, really important. From chaos to control. It's a great way to go. Next thing I do want to kind of mention is, and you know what, if you're not a believer and you don't want to hear this part of the conversation, I'm going to end with this. And so if you're not a believer and you find this stuff offensive, my goal is not to offend people. If you want to check out, you can. But this is where I'm at today. Folks, lot of distractions in the position of faith. A lot of distractions. I mean, churches getting hit. I go back to where those kids were praying in a church and got shot. Right? I go back to a lot of things. A lot of things are wrapping up. Here's what I want to think about. And I think that this can be fairly real. I'm not an alarmist, so please don't take this as some kind of crazy call to arms. Let's get crazy and hit the streets. I'm not talking in those ways. But what I'm saying is it's not going to get easier. It's not going to get easier. We could celebrate, right? We could put our hands up and we could celebrate Charlie's passing caused a major swing in things. Um, on one hand, we had people crying the blues and protesting and doing all kinds of silly things because Jimmy Kimmel got suspended. To my understanding, he was never fired. I understood it was an indefinite suspension. All right, and we all remember high school, right? We all remember high school with an indefinite. What do they call that when you got sent some detention, right? Indefinite detention. Um, Maybe you guys didn't go to the same school I went to. When you get struck with indefinite detention, that's like indefinite suspension, right? It was like, yeah, it means whatever. It means whatever. You're going to make a statement, and then everyone's going to get upset and complain and protest and all these things. Um, Someone getting kicked off of their TV show with horrible ratings is a whole heck of a lot different than somebody getting shot and dying. I'm sorry, but that's, we got to draw a line in the sand, and we got to be very realistic. So the Charlie Kirk show with Erica Kirk comes out and gets over 1 billion views. Now, I work with the college age group at my church. Every Monday, we get together at church with these kids from college. I'm going to tell you, this year, record-breaking year. This is not meant to be a brag, okay? I came from a church in California that had like 12 kids in a college group. Like 12 kids in a college group. And I think about how big Southern California is and the population and all these things. And out of all of that density of population and backed up traffic, we get 12 kids to come to a weekly meeting. This church in Kansas is seeing 130, 140. I think one night had like 155 kids or something like that. College students coming every Wednesday to a Bible study. Okay. I'm just one of the volunteers. I don't run it. I'm not in charge of anything. In fact, I don't even really do anything. The kids run the event. I'm just there, right? We're just there to be supportive, have conversations, and be there as a mentor to the group when applicable. Okay. So I don't want to make it like this is my thing. It's not my thing. This is very much God's thing. But we're seeing a whole lot less empty seats in church on Sunday. We're seeing a whole lot more youth coming to things like our youth group, like signing up for camp, like coming to the college group. To give you an idea, the college age group has a retreat every fall. They call it Fall Conference. Very, very, very creative name. They call it the Fall Conference. And so last year, 48 kids went to the fall conference. And this year, over 60 went to the fall conference. Think about that. You go from 48 to over 60. Now, we did not have a huge population increase in the last year. It wasn't like this is post World War II and the baby boomers, the kids are coming of age. It's not like that. In fact, it's the opposite of that, right? Birth rates are going down, but attendance is going up. And so if we are going to be Christians in our faith, and we are going to see an uptick like this, participation in church, people speaking forwardly and outwardly about their faith or about Scripture, like my church is doing a whole review of the New Testament, and it's giving us a really good grounding in a better grounding of what is a New Testament church. What was Paul talking about? What did Luke have to say, right? And so we're getting a much better idea of the actual church through Scripture, through this study. But if we read correctly, the more that the more that things spool up, the more that church gets popular, the more that people get involved, the more that people speak out, the more that people share their faith, the more there's going to be opposition to those things. And unfortunately, this is the unfortunate side of that, is that the opposition to Christianity is not love and forgiveness and kumbaya. It's not, right? If anything, Christianity is supposed to be the love and the forgiveness and the tolerance and the kumbaya moments. But we have to remember what the opposite of that is. We have to remember that the opposite of that is oppression, violence, persecution, those kinds of things. Jesus told us very plainly it was going to get harder. It wasn't going to get easier. And for people that think that, you're going to, sign up for Christianity and it's going to be a cakewalk, I don't think that was ever the promise. And so I think we need to be a little more vigilant, and we need to be a little more steadfast, and we need to love on people a little bit better. People need to see us. They need to recognize that we are different by our actions and the way that we treat people. And, at some point they say, man, you're a little bit different. What is it about you? And hopefully you have the heart to say, well, it might be my faith in Christ. It might be this. When I'm in public, I'm clear about what my beliefs are, and I try to be as positive as possible, and I try to interact with people in a very ethical way. I have a business partner that'll tell you that if anything, I'm over ethical. Drives them a little bit nuts. Sometimes I don't charge people what I could charge them. Just because they seem gullible and they could pay the difference isn't the reason to charge them that, right? It's like there's an equitable fee for different services. That's the way I look at that. So I want you to think how pivotal this is in our time. If the internet was turned upside down because Jimmy Kimmel got suspended from a show with horrible ratings and poor viewership, but then Erica Kirk puts out an episode and over 1 billion people watch it. I mean, put that into perspective where we're at. Some people have said the tables have turned. Things are going another way. It's a sign. It's a sign that things are going the other way. It's a sign that more people are interested. It's a sign. Some people, let's be honest, some people in that billion number, some people are like, I'm hoping she fails. I don't believe in this one bit. I hope she fails. But what I'm hoping is that through her communication and through her words in that show, she expresses a sense of love and forgiveness like she did at Charlie's Memorial. And even people that want to see it fail, even people that want to see the negativity, can't help but come away from that and go, that's a little positive. I wasn't expecting that. Right? And that to me that's a sign that we're going in the right direction. When other groups are shutting down streets and highways and protesting businesses and being obtrusive to people's pathways to success in America, I think the masses take a look at that and go, I don't want to get into a fight about theology, but I don't think that's right. At the very least, that can be the expectation that we see. That people with any sense of critical thinking would say, look, you got your faith, that's fine. Everybody to themselves, just don't force it on me. But when I'm looking at activities, when my brain is aggregating with some critical thinking, I can sense that what that group is doing, that's not conducive to community behavior. That's not right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. Right. And then when people look to a more loving, tolerant, open, communicative experience, hopefully that's our opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Somebody from another world, much better than this, voluntarily came down here and lived the life that you live. Voluntarily did what you have to do here, right? Lived as a human being. And not only that, endured the temptations, did put up with people's nonsense and BS when at any point in time he could have said, Dad, I'm done with this. Just bring me home. Let these people, let's push the reset button and start over somewhere. This is a mess. He could have at any point could have said that. And imagine coming from a place that is described as heaven. Imagine coming from a place described as heaven, voluntarily putting yourself here and voluntarily putting up with the nonsense that happens in an average life and watching and dealing with the stupidity and the attitudes and the arrogance of our race in general, right? Just of our species. And putting up with that, knowing that you came from a better place, and knowing that you were going to a better place, knowing that it was yours to make the decision about, and at any point you could have pulled the plug, but you put up with it, and you voluntarily went through this in an effort to pay back the infractions of the species. That you said, you know what, I'm going to put myself through this nonsense so that these people that I love have a pathway to redemption. And as long as they believe in me, and as long as they acknowledge me, we can accept them back home. Like, that's the way that goes. And so if through our behavior, through our words, through our actions, through the way that we deal with others, like I say, if we can ditch the chaos and focus on control, if we can be focused, and we can be productive, and we can disallow for some of the chaos. The chaos is on purpose, folks. It's not an accident, right? The chaos is on purpose. When you have a billion people watching a positive message, and you only have a fraction of that tuning in the late night, the ongoing propaganda that we've been fed for decades, people are abandoning the old media model, and they're going for the new media model. And that's going to create backlash. That's going to create chaos. The enemy does not want us to have peace and tranquility and growth in numbers and a resurgence, and heaven forbid you say the big name and say revival, right? But there is an insurgence of energy right now, and we need to capitalize on that. And so, from chaos to control, folks, I'm begging you, tune out some of the noise, tune out some of the distractions. You don't need to know everything about everything. I was so proud of myself yesterday. My wife said on the sofa last night, I got back from church, and my wife was home. She was on the sofa. She said, "What happened in Michigan today?" And I thought, and I said, I heard there was some kind of a church shooting or something. I don't know if it was in Michigan or not, and I was actually really proud of myself in the moment, because usually when she asks a question like that, I have the details. I know who it was, why it was, when it was, who got hurt, blah, blah. And there's no reason for me to know all that, because what am I going to do about it in this room in Kansas? What am I going to do about it in this room in Kansas? Nothing. I don't need to know the details about every little thing. I need to focus. I need to disallow the chaos, and I need to focus on control and grow what is good. Focus on what is good, right? What does Paul say in the New Testament? Focus on all things that are good, that are holy, that hold us apart. Folks, have yourselves a wonderful day. I told you I would end on that part of the message. For those of you that didn't stay and you decided to come back and watch the replay, I hope you enjoyed that last segment, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.